Portugal. There's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know. Carl rings the bell and the members show to the GMP Morning Show.
Olá Bom Dia ALEGRIA, Munson here with the Good Morning Portugal show, live stream and podcast. And back at GMP HQ this morning. Tudo bem? Como está? How are you doing? Yeah, it was fantastic. I was treated like a king yesterday morning. Back to making my own breakfast, peanut butter on toast on quite a dark and cold morning this morning. Not like yesterday. Look at that. Wasn't that fantastic yesterday? Well, it was for me. And what a lovely guest. Thank you, Marco, for introducing me to Amélie Latranche, who was my guest yesterday, live from the Storytellers. It was great. Lovely to be there. A man can get used to eggs Benedict, croissants, fresh coffee, pastel de natas, first thing in the morning. Who doesn't like? So thank you very much to the Storytellers for hosting me yesterday. First Wednesday of every month. I can't wait to be back there in March when I think we'll be talking to Danny, local lad Danny over from Los Angeles. I think originally a New Yorker. We'll be having a fun chat with him. I always enjoy bumping into him at the local pasteleria. So we'll talk to Danny next time we're at the Storytellers. First Wednesday of March, which I think is probably something like the 5th, is it not? Right, yep, okay. Short month, of course, 28 days. We're into February already. How are you doing? How's it going? How's your month? We've got the Bon Dia Daily, which will be a little bit of a sandwich today. I'm going to be talking to Martin Harris of ULIS of the United Lisbon School. He'll be joining us at around 8:10 this morning. And Mrs. M is back at around past. So we'll have a chat with her. Looking forward to catching up and talking about our new show on New Reality TV. Whilst the world seems to be in quite having its panties in quite the bunch with some of the old paradigms, particularly politically, others are thinking about co-creating a new reality. That's what we're talking about, that sort of thing at midday every day, me and Mrs. M. So we'll talk about that more at 8:30. And we've got a fascinating guest at midday today. We'll sure to tell you all about her and what she does, as well as talk more generally about the new Munson, the Munson moment, or the moment with the Munsons on New Reality TV at midday every day on your internet. Morning, Alan. Bon dia from Massachusetts this morning. How's Massachusetts this morning? How are you? Nice to see you back here. And Lee McGrady, good morning, people. And the Coach Turner, bon dia. Todos y feliz quinta. Another beautiful day on the horizon. So we're planning a visit to Sesimbra this morning. I think, how was Palmela yesterday? I think this is one of those days where you need to grab it and enjoy. Oh, my word, quite presidential. In its own funny sort of way there. Right, first news item this morning, and I want to return. You may have seen from the intro sequence, riffing with Trump, and we're going to have a look at the Portuguese response to the tariffs, which is characteristically serene in bunny ears. Serene Portugal braces for Trump tariff effect. Great piece from Natasha Don this morning, but I'll return to that and also the legendary response to Donald Trump from Marcelo. Do you remember that handshake? I found a bit of video of that this morning as well. It's very interesting how Portugal's responding in its own special characteristic way. And so is this, in a way, oldest carnival in Portugal returns. How is the carnival going to be celebrated in the Algarve? Drinking, partying, floats, lots of fun. Oh, and by the way, the problems relating to water shortages in the Algarve will be the central theme of the upcoming Lulé Carnival. Wow, what fun. Oh, and scantily, that woman's got nothing on except body paint. Yes, that got your attention, didn't it, Lee McGrady? Is she is that what? Okay, Carnival is returning to the streets of Lulé on the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th of March on the Avenida José de Costa Mealia. Melia, the oldest carnival in the country. This is, and I imagine a few like to chat. I knew it, Lee. Morning, and to you, Hugh, Avizia, and Mike's in as well. Bon dia from a sunny Miranda de Cordova. Good morning to you all. The carnival is returning to that particular street. Claims to be the oldest in the country, and I'm sure quite a few do. But not to cast any nasturtiums or undermine your claim there, Lule. Bringing to the streets 15 floats, around 600 entertainers, samba schools, animation groups, giant heads. Giant heads, everybody, and political satire. You see, that's why they're talking about the water shortage. It's a political thing. It's a bit like the British panto, isn't it? Oh no, it isn't. Or I suppose Saturday Night Live. That's where the people get to have a go at the institutions, do they not, on Saturday Night Live? There may be other American approaches to undermining political power. I wonder what they might be. Do let me know in the chat. The City Hall is once again focusing on the projection of Carnival as a tool to raise public awareness. Who doesn't like a tool that raises public awareness first thing in the morning of a topic of interest, alerting and promoting responsible and conscious behavior? Boring. But you see, this is how you do it. You give people drink and food and revelry and near nakedness or complete nakedness, apart from some body paints, and then you can just like, it's bread and circuses, basically, isn't it? Current topics, such as the upcoming presidential elections. Oh, yeah, in Portugal. Donald Trump's anti-immigration measures. Antonio Costa's presence as the strongman of the European Council. And Cristiano Ronaldo's. All of the aforementioned fun and this political, well, what would it be called? Yeah, ducking and diving, no, pushing and shoving, well, whatever, just a few political points being made. And Cristiano Ronaldo's multi-million-dollar contract will give life to the parade. The drought that has affected the Algarve in recent years will be present in several floats, you see what they did there, that recreate materials such as the long-awaited desalination plant, which will be presented for the first time in this parade. Now that's how would you go about recreating materials to make a political point about the long-awaited desalination plant? I'd be throwing salt around. They can't, back in the day when I used to go, well, as a kid, when I found myself seeing parades and floats and things like that going up and down the street in various towns of the UK, they would be throwing water at people. They won't be doing that if the theme this year is the drought in the Algarve. So maybe they'll be throwing salt as a sort of political point about the long-awaited desalination plant in the Algarve. The parade takes place on all 3 days between 3 and 6 p.m. Tickets cost €2. How do they police that? And all proceeds will be distributed to social. I'm not looking for a way to get in for nothing, but I'm just thinking, I mean, I suppose €2, people aren't going to balk too much at that. But there's always one, isn't there, or two, or several hundred who like to bum rush the show, as it were. Tickets cost €2, and all proceeds will be distributed to social causes. Okay, well then if you don't pay and you watch the carnival, you can feel really bad because your money is not going to social causes and to participating groups representing local communities. Very good, excellent stuff. That'll be marzo 2, 3 y 4 in Lule, the carnival there. Sorry, I didn't give a clown warning for anyone who's a little bit sensitive about clowns or clown phobic. Sorry, that was right in your face there, wasn't it? We'll go talk to Martin Harris, ULIS, in just a moment, the United Lisbon School. And just to say a few hellos. Olá Bom Dia Gumpers this morning from Thunder Duck. Joao Ernesto is in. I'm feeling a distinctly slow start to the show this morning. Come on, you sleepyheads. How are you doing? Mr. S asking Alan, how are you doing as well? We're going to get a report from Massachusetts in just a moment. Gemini's in. Mr. S, of course, Bom Dia Todos. It's early in Massachusetts. Alan Martins. And Alan Martins, after years of talking, I'll be visiting Portugal in June. Terceira, Porto, Lisbon, then a full week in the Algarve. Good, lucky man. My daughter just became a Portuguese citizen and she can't wait to visit. That's lovely. And yes, it is cold and early, I'm suspecting, in Massachusetts there. Right, wonderful stuff. I don't think we've got time to look at the weather just yet. We'll come back to the terrific with Trump and that legendary handshake from Marcelo. We'll talk to Martin now because he's a busy man. He's the executive director at ULIS. We haven't spoken to him for a while, so let's give him a nice big round of applause. Good morning, Martin. How are you? Olá Bom Dia.
The Bottle Caps charity drive is ongoing. Thank you to the Gators and the...
Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to have to send him a message to say we can see you, but you can't see or hear us. I think this morning. He's looking good, though. He's looking good. Okay, we can see you, but not sure. Showbiz, but not sure you can see. I'm going to go for a slash. See, hear us. Okay, we'll go back to him in just a minute. Okay. In the meantime, I'm going to show you that handshake and see if Martin is picking up my message and see what he can do about it. He is surrounded by teenagers who I'm sure you would think would be able to help him with the technology to connect to the Good Morning Portugal show. Here's what happened a few years ago. This is one non-verbal, a very physical response that showcased the relationship between Portugal and the United States, particularly President Trump first time round. Do you remember this? Now, did you see that? And somebody in the crowd went, "Whoa, he's not going to like that." I wonder if that's going to be happening again anytime soon. Right, let's try again. Big round of applause. Martin, are you there?
I'm here, Carl. I'm here. I'm so sorry.
Don't worry.
I was. Do you know what, Carl? I don't know if you have the same thing, but sometimes I wear earphones like you are now, and sometimes I don't. And technology beat me.
I was just saying you're surrounded by young people there who I'm sure would have stepped in and helped you very ably.
Well, yes, exactly. And funny enough, Carl, I have just passed a group of grade 6 students who are filled with energy. I've just reminded myself why I do this job, because they are bouncing around outside, and I've just suggested they go and do a yoga class because I think they need to get rid of energy.
Do you have yoga classes?
Yeah, you know, it's actually for older students than those particular girls. They're great though; they're just full of fantastic energy. You know, we do. We introduced it at the beginning of the year. It's optional for some of the older students. I think what it does, it's actually been taken up more by staff than students.
That's brilliant.
Which may say something about how I run the school, but no, it's been fairly popular. I wouldn't say it's overwhelming. Yeah.
Interesting. Right. Well, yes, you run the school. You're executive director at ULIS at United Lisbon, and we had a great chat last time we spoke. And I think you were quite new to the role, weren't you? It was all kind of heady stuff back then.
Carl, I think we spoke in May, and I started here in the summer. So yeah, it was literally I was a couple of weeks into my role. But I've been in Lisbon for nearly 4 years now, so I think I know the landscape quite well.
Right. And how's everything going? Please give us an update of what's happening at ULIS, if you will.
Oh, delighted to. Yes, it's really exciting time, and I don't know, Carl, whether you're seeing this, but we're seeing a lot of interest from people moving into Portugal,
yes,
particularly from the US and the UK. And so, you know, it's been a real pleasure for me to be able to give some advice. As you know, there are challenges, but also there's lots of positives. So it's been nice to be able to hold the hand. United is at a really exciting time. Since I spoke to you, we've really evolved the curriculum to sort of keep it. I think if I use the phrase forward-facing, that's a sort of bit of a bland statement, but kind of my role in life, I think, is to prepare our children for life outside school and learning in the middle of the 21st century. And of course, none of us know really what that's going to look like. So it's kind of being open-minded. And I've always been a bit of a fighter against just the whole exam culture. You know, just focusing on exams, I think is not helpful to anybody. So it's been really refreshing to come into a school that welcomes that sort of initiative. It's not massive changes, but it's just evolving the curriculum. And we're in this wonderful city that offers so many opportunities for experiences and learnings for children. So we've introduced and started for our middle years an enhancement to their curriculum, which is a sort of carousel, and they do that once a fortnight. Which involves going to a wonderful local setup, which Tumo, I don't know if you're aware of them, they teach all children, doesn't matter what their background or which school they're in, teaches them technology, and the children are just having an amazing time there. We do some adventure, some culture, visiting some of the wonderful places in Lisbon, and also an opportunity for my students to give to the service. So we're doing a little bit of service for the local community and helping out. Yeah.
That's absolutely wonderful. And well, I mean, you're right, absolutely. What a fantastic city to be in, to be growing up and to becoming an adult. And we did have a very interesting conversation, I think, about the philosophy of education. I think we touched on that last time. And I'm fascinated by your view there that exams they are important and qualifications are important, but they're not everything. I don't suppose that's always been a popular view that you've been championing there, but it will have come more into its own in recent times, presumably.
Do you know, Carl, it's interesting. I think my arrival 4 years ago in Lisbon coincided with a kind of worldwide change and realization that exams weren't helpful. But because a lot of the landscape, the educational landscape in Lisbon is young, it's therefore a little bit more agile and can change. And I got frustrated in the UK because I found that change was measured. I don't want to sound critical, but there was a legacy, and therefore everything had to be done in a very measured fashion. And I felt really strongly that we weren't preparing the children for the best for the future. And now we are. And I don't want to sound revolutionary, because I don't think this is revolutionary. It's just equipping our children with the skills. So, we've always focused, haven't we, on comparing. It's still a default conversation that I find with my peers. How many O levels have you got, or how many A levels have you got? Whereas actually, emotional intelligence and technology intelligence and all these other intelligence that we're now aware of, far more important.
Yeah, amazing. That's quite incredible. And I think you made the point there in passing that we live in a world of a less certain future, less predictable future. And I don't want that to sound dramatic. It's just how it is at the moment, isn't it? You could probably only 50 years ago be fairly certain that you wanted to be a certain kind of profession, maybe do that job for your life, get a pension, and that would be it. I don't know if that exists for anybody anymore, and that's quite a short space of time in human history. So how are you approaching that as an executive director of a very exciting school in a very exciting city?
Carl, do you know, I think it's the speed at which change is moving on that is the key here. And so preparing children to be ready for anything. I know that sounds like a wonderfully broad phrase, but I think it's really important that our children are not just blinkered. So just to go back to my criticism of the exam system, what that did was children prepared for exams, and they took the exams, and then they were measured on that. But it kind of meant that their education became narrow and narrow and narrow as they became more and more focused on those exams. So I think if I can use a sort of very broad phrase, what I'm trying to do is open those eyes to be prepared for anything. And that might be critical thinking, but I think thinking on your feet is the best way that I've ever summed that up. So, whatever we throw at our children, or whatever comes their way, both at school, at university, and then beyond, they're ready for it. Now, interestingly, Carl, I think one of the great challenges for society is that, and I'm a dad as well, is that we all want to wrap our children up and protect them from this unknown world. But in a funny sort of way, that's the worst thing we can do. So I don't want to ever appear that I'm sort of, controversial or coming at this from a different angle. But it's trying to be measured and nurturing those children, but at the same time recognizing there's nothing wrong with failure. There's nothing wrong with doing something badly, because we'll learn from that and we'll move on. Indeed, a child looked at me the other day when I said, you got 100%, or they did incredibly well in their latest reports. And I was congratulating them, but I did say, sometimes that makes me worried, because where are you going to go for the rest of this year? And she looked at me as though I was from Mars, and I sort of understand that. So I'm kind of trying to just tweak the mindset that let's not be worried about getting 0 out of 10, as long as we learn from that.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a lifelong message. That's not just for your school, is it? I mean, I think we can all benefit from that. I think as well.
Yeah, definitely.
We'll conclude our chat today with them speaking. They're in a very impressive bunch. They really are. And there's that wonderful interview with some of your pupils, your community there, who are speaking about their experience and their aspirations. So we'll finish with that today. We need to let people know. So as you said, there is a spike in interest in people moving to Portugal from all over the world, but noticeably from the US and the UK, as you point out. And the children of those people might be ideally suited to coming and having a look at United Lisbon to see if that's an option. How do they get in touch, and how does that process work? Because it's quite a daunting one, isn't it, for the parents thinking, I want to move to Portugal, but I'm going to be uprooting my kids. How do you help them manage that process?
Do you know, Carl, since we last spoke, I think probably one of the best ways of answering that question is we've set up a parents group, and they are being amazingly supportive of the school in terms of just giving a little bit of added human touch. So we put our new families in touch with current families so that they can communicate. And it's the little things like, where do I go to the doctor, or how do I sign up for a dentist, or what do your children do when they're not feeling well? Because it's those little things that I think unsettle us when we move. So using some wonderfully friendly current parents to help bed in the new ones.
That's really great. And I was going to say brave. In many ways, you're putting the new parents in touch with the existing parents is a bold move, isn't it? But clearly you're very confident about the offer, and the existing parents are obviously ambassadors for what you do and speak about the whole experience to the new ones, or potentially new ones.
What I found is that everyone is really willing to chip in and help. There's a wonderful, we're all in this together feel. Yes. It's pretty cool. And I think we probably mentioned, didn't we, when we spoke before, that the school has got quite a few different nationalities.
Yes.
So we are able to match them up, and people are really excited to show off not only the school and this part of Lisbon, but the whole of living in this part of Portugal.
Yeah, I think we have to face that fact, don't we, for our youngsters, that going elsewhere in the world might be very useful and advantageous as well. Europe is an amazing continent with an incredible culture and history, but I think the horizons of young people must include many parts of the rest of the world. And they're going to meet kids and colleagues from all over the world as well, aren't they, at your school? So we'll go to them, we'll go to the kids, and they'll speak for themselves in just a moment. I just want to quickly mention that Arsenal are doing quite well. Is that right? You're a Gunners fan, as I recall from the last conversation as well, right?
You've picked a bad moment, so I don't know.
Really? Well, sorry, I didn't mean to.
So we had a great win on Sunday, but lost in the semi-final of the League Cup last night.
I'm sorry I brought it on. I genuinely didn't know that. What a terrible thing to do to you, as we say Bon Dia and part ways this morning. But second in the Premier League, though, right?
Second in the Premier League, always the bridesmaid at the moment. Well, let's hope that changes. But it's amazing how football brings people together as well. Isn't it?
It is a mixture of commiserations and congratulations then, and hopefully the bride and not the bridesmaid for much longer.
Exactly.
But always good fun talking to you. All the best to you and the community at ULIS. Thanks. Let's talk again in a few months and see how things are going.
Thank you, Carl. Good to
chat.
Thanks
a lot, Martin. All the best. Ciao. Bye. Have a good day. Bye.
And you.
Right. So let's there's the website. And I'll put the link to it into the chat. UnitedLisbon.school. What a terrible thing to do to a Gunners fan. He's going to think I did that on purpose, I suspect, as well. That's a bit of on the ball banter there. Honestly, Martin, I didn't mean to bring that up this morning. Right, okay. And we've got I should keep a closer eye, as well as on the news, on the front page, the back page as well. Okay, here are the wonderful kids at ULIS talking about their own experience and their aspirations.
In the future, I can see myself as a leader.
Collaborating on decisions or events of international significance.
I would like to see myself as someone who has changed something.
Understanding people, understanding about the world, and putting myself in other people's shoes.
United Lisbon International School is the largest school campus in central Lisbon. With modern, high-class facilities, our school has been designed and built upon the pillars of global citizenship, technology, entrepreneurship, arts, and sports to better prepare our students for tomorrow's world.
United means that we're all accepting of each other. The teachers and the students are both from very diverse backgrounds.
Everybody is very kind and learning stuff from each other.
There are many different nationalities in the school, and by communicating with other people, I learn more about where they come from and the problems in the world.
I learned how to communicate with different ages, from teachers to small kids.
The school has been able to prepare me to be a global citizen. It helped me become a more open-minded person. It helped me grow and mature. Being a purely international school with a lot of diversity, it's opened me up to different perspectives. So I think that desire to be able to be involved in the international community and international stage has really been developed at United Lisbon.
The world is becoming more and more dependent on technology, and there's more things being discovered, more jobs, opportunities.
Learning about machine learning and programming, really what will be vital for our future and what we'll have to know.
Technology is really growing, and it's good for our students to learn and understand about it.
I like to learn about the past, but I also really enjoy thinking about what we can do that we saw in the past and we can apply it to the future. The key value is probably entrepreneurship. We had a unit about entrepreneurship where we learned communication skills. So important because you can transmit your ideas clearly and share your thoughts.
I'm able to get leadership experience, public speaking experience, that I believe is crucial in a leader.
I live in Marvilla, and that's like the art district of Lisbon. My favorite subject is art, and it's a very good way to express myself and collaborate with my friends.
To see also other people's art inspire me in some way to create new types of art. It allows me to expand my creativity.
I love music, and I play acoustic guitar, and I would say I'm pretty good at it. I'm really proud of myself because I've tried lots of sports. We've got really nice coaches, and they help us a lot with getting better.
I think ULIS strongly encourages, getting out of your comfort zone.
I believe that the school has really been able to prepare me, and going into university due to the prior learning that I will have, that will truly put me ahead of other students.
Discover a safe, spacious and green learning environment in the heart of the city, where students are the central protagonists in active learning, working towards the highly recognized international qualifications that opens doors to the world's top universities and beyond. Join us and embrace the future at United Lisbon International School.
Oh, great to talk to Martin this morning. He's got a great future as a voiceover artist as well, doesn't he? I think that was him on the video there, wasn't it? And yes, absolutely right. United Lisbon.school. James saying, wow, the school, it does, doesn't it? I think that learning environment is extraordinary. I remember the computer club. Things have changed a lot, Martin. The computer club. Has anyone seen the cassettes for the computer? We told you to put the cassettes away at the end of Computer Club. Things have come a long way since the Commodore or the Spectrum. What an incredible learning environment that is. So great job. Well done, United Lisbon. Guessing there's no bullying there. I imagine in any situation where there are kids, you have to have a policy and a position on that. And I imagine my guess is with Martin, anything that comes up in the school curriculum is a learning opportunity, which I suspect would include a situation like that as well. I wonder if they learn Portuguese at school. I am sure they do, as a range of other languages as well there, Pam. So thank you very much, Martin. Good to see you. Mrs. M is limbering up. I'm going to talk about the serene approach. Oh, Mrs. M is actually limbering up there. I'm going to be talking about the serene response. So you saw, I think Mrs. M will like this. Let me just show this again then. This was an early response, a sort of Portuguese cultural response to Donald Trump in his first lease of office. Can we call it that? What I like most about that is the, whoa, he's not going to like that. Somebody actually uttered that. I'd like to share with you now the Portuguese response. And this is written by Natasha Don in the Portugal Resident. Serene in bunny ears in inverted commas. So let me bring this on. Yeah, we've got a slightly discombobulated show this morning, not because Mrs. M's here, but she may add her own a particular brand of discombobulation this morning to proceedings. She normally does when she gets here. I get hot under the collar, obviously, and I get flustered when Mrs. M is near me, and in any situation, but especially in the broadcasting environment. Stop it, right? Okay, and I need to put on. I need to put on. Oh, you see, she's done it already. She's not even on screen yet. There you go. Good morning, Portugal. Let's have a quick look at this as well. Would you like to be on the screen to go through this with me, or are you happy to stay off the screen for a moment? All right. I'll tell you what, you can do your voices off. We can hear you now. Can you hear yourself?
Yes, I can.
There you go.
Hello,
okay.
everyone.
Your mellifluous tones can be heard now. Serene Portugal braces for Trump tariff effect. And that's why I've called it riffing with Trump. See what I did there?
Yeah.
We're riffing,
Yeah.
and the country is riffing with this. You know, a lot of people are upset. When I say people, well, a lot of people are upset. Let's face it. Let's be honest about it. It's an interesting time for humanity again, it's interesting to see the cultural responses. So here's Portugal.
I'm holding back at the moment. I'm wondering,
you could have fooled me, but anyway, go on.
No, I'm wondering if that's going to affect my business.
Oh yes, of course, a tariff on your digital service.
So if I wonder if when it's announced whether it will be backdated to the start of his presidency. So where I'm having Americans wanting to work with me, yes. I'm asking them to wait until the tariffs have been announced.
Is that
because
right?
I'll probably have to up my prices for the Americans.
Flipping heck, Donny.
Or do something.
Flipping heck.
It is what it is, isn't it?
PM concedes Trump's tariff tirades. Trump's tariff tirades.
That's a good alliteration. Is that you? Is that you that's written that? That's Natasha Don.
This is Natasha Don.
It's like she's been to the Cole
write this.
It's as if she's been to the Cole Munson School of
Writing.
Alliteration. Yes, absolutely. That's the kind of thing you would do.
Let's see if we can do more of that as
okay, let's spot them.
Portugal is doing what it does best as US president. See, I love the start. We're doing what we do best. US President Donald Trump threatens the world with tariffs and the pulling of overseas aid. I think that's been pulled largely, hasn't it? Who doesn't like a large pulling first thing in the morning? Well, multiple countries and world leaders react in outrage. These are all quotes, aren't they? Portugal is reacting with serenity. One of this nation's greatest fallback words, along with tranquility.
I like that.
We know that from our personal experience, don't we, Mrs. Emma? You used to hear it a lot when we first got here. Tranquilo, calma.
Yes, thank you.
We used to get hot under the collar.
What I
You're coming in already.
Oh, sorry.
No, come on, carry on.
I actually think the being serene about it is the right way forwards, because when you're hot under the collar and when you've got your knickers in a twist, it's very difficult to make clear, rational next moves. It's very difficult to think about things calmly and to make a good decision. You're not playing with a full deck of common sense. And so
a full deck of common sense. I remember those.
And if Portugal is reacting with serenity, it's going to offer them a much greater flexibility in terms of their responses. How they choose to respond will be, I think, more graceful and eloquent.
Okay. Well, yes, which is unusual in today's world, isn't it?
And I think that's underrated, but thinking clearly is really important in these times, especially when the whole world thinks that nobody's thinking clearly or somebody's not thinking clearly. Being the grown-up in the room is to me that sounds
the Portugal, the grown-up in the room.
Yeah, to me it sounds like they're being the grandparent who has seen things coming and seen things going.
Yeah, someone's got to be. You're right.
Yeah,
somebody needs to be.
It's important to see the bigger picture, I think.
James, by the way, tariffs shouldn't affect your prices, only for companies registered in America. Now, James,
we'll see, because when I put my green tickets through, I have to say where the business came from.
Yes.
So I have to declare it, and I think that is done.
You
for
are
tax
supplying
reasons.
a service into the United States, and I thought
which
that's how
people
it will be working. Yeah.
Which there will be American people doing similar things that I do. Obviously, they're not me, and I'm not them. But
that's interesting, isn't it? Because it's to protect American businesses, isn't it?
Yeah,
you're not really
so.
a threat to them, are you? You're very individual in your. Anyway, we'll come back to that.
I don't think I'm a threat to America at all. The only thing that I'm a threat to is I might help people relax a bit more.
Are they
I mean,
all
the whole purpose of my business is to help people feel good about themselves.
Yes.
You know, if anything, I'm good for their
that would
GDP.
be good for national morale, possibly at the
Yes.
moment. And having said threat to America at least 3 times already,
Oh my God!
I'm guessing a CIA tape is started up somewhere.
Yeah.
But no one's going to be listening. Nobody will be listening to it because they've all been fired, haven't they? Anyway. So.
Who knows?
Who knows? Right. And I think you uttered the word "we'll see" or the phrase "we'll
Yeah.
see." That's what this is all about. And
Yes.
a wise man once said, "We'll see." I think
Let's
it was
see.
James.
Let's find out. Let's see.
James Campbell. I think James here has got a message for you. I sound like a psychic now, don't I?
Do you?
A psychic event.
Cool.
Right. All right. Portugal will not be spooked into saying anything untoward, nor will it be goaded into making counter threats.
Fantastic.
It's getting better and better, isn't it?
Yeah.
Not well done, Natasha. Not so a number of other European leaders whose panties are certainly in the bunch, not Natasha's words, but mine, who are clearly smarting over the president's comments that Europe is an atrocity. Now, you shouldn't get upset about that, should you? You should just, you should just laugh when with such.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a judgment. And
it's a point
and
of
there
view.
might
It's a point
of view, and there might be some points of view where that Europe's a big place. There will be some things that are atrocious, and there will be some things that are really good.
Yeah, but it's not an atrocity.
No, the whole place of Europe isn't an atrocity.
It's not an atrocity.
But I mean, one thing I do notice is, you can listen to different news outlets, and it's completely different.
Well, there's a thing, and I was thinking when the way I'm seeing people respond on social media at the moment, it just feels so much like the pandemic.
Yeah, it does.
With people saying, "Well, you can unfriend me if you like," and
Yeah.
all these sorts of those emotions are present again, aren't they?
And I understand that feels really real for people. People are feeling massive amounts of emotion. Some people are feeling betrayed. Some people are feeling
which is an atrocity.
Some people are feeling abandoned, but there are also equally loads of people actually feeling quite excited.
Yeah.
So it's by no means like a flat statement that things are atrocious, because not everyone believes that.
Not everyone is having that experience.
And,
and for those who are,
and I think it's important to have compassion for people, no matter where they are in their journey.
Yes, and if I hope we learnt that in the pandemic time. We shall see again.
Yeah.
Reading between the lines, however, one can see that Mr. Trump's outrageous comments and cowboy-like behavior are already reaping rewards. His threats of 25% tariffs on Canada and Mexico have seen both countries fall over themselves to try and address some of the president's concerns, agreeing to tighten border measures against the flow of migrants and the drug fentanyl. Fentanyl. It's pronounced fentanyl, isn't it? Fentanyl. And tariffs have thus been suspended for a month.
Yeah, I guess that's like, we'll see. Let's see how it goes.
China has not been so obliging, but what appears to be more, that appears to be more because Mr. Trump hasn't spoken to his pal Xi just yet. He's my pal. As the resident went to press, the White House reported that he was due to. As for the EU, this is the important bit, isn't it? Portugal and the Europe. The informal summit earlier this week saw the likes of France's President Macron, or what is Macron, I think, as he's sometimes known in America, bristling with indignation, and leading figures all promising a firm response first thing in the morning and at other times of the day. But Portugal's representative was surprisingly calm. We have to look at these issues realistically. And I think Luis Montenegro, our PM here, is a lot like Marcelo in that way. We've got to look at these issues realistically. In recent years, Europe has been over-regulated and has perhaps had over-ambitious objectives in terms of having, I'm doing this voice for effect, but he might sound like this, perhaps has had over-ambitious objectives.
I imagine he'd have a kind of like shoulder, kind of like this kind of.
Yeah, comme ci, comme ça,
yeah.
Which Macron does not appear to be saying at the moment.
No.
I don't know what a firm response in French is, but that is what Emmanuel is saying.
I've been slapped around the face by a French woman.
What, for saying firm response?
No. But like I've been shown a firm response in my 20s.
You've experienced it.
Yes. Right. I mean, I lived in France for 5 years, so
isn't it funny?
Yeah.
You see, again,
like when they're firm about something, they are firm about it.
It's all about points of view, isn't it?
Yes.
Because I dreamt of being slapped around the face by a French woman when I was a kid. You probably didn't, and
no,
it happened to you, not me.
Right. And it wasn't done in a kind of
ooh la la.
It wasn't done in a kind of schoolboy fantasy style.
French maid slaps.
No, it was like this old campsite owner
All right.
smacking me around the face.
I didn't dream of her slapping me around the
No,
face. Okay,
you wouldn't have done. Trust me.
Let's move on. So Europe has had over-ambitious objectives in terms of having rules similar to those of other trading blocs, punching above our weight possibly there, the EU. We don't have to be a Nobel Prize winner in economics to realize, and just in case you are a Nobel Prize winner in virology, meteorology, and now economics, as well as Middle Eastern affairs, you don't have to be one of those to realize that the increase in tariffs on products that contribute to price formation on the side of American industries will have an impact on price increases. He conceded, but Mr. Trump was elected based on the popular vote of the Americans, and therefore we must respect his positions. There we go. Portugal, rule of law, democracy. The PM's serenity stood out among the otherwise fevered reporting from Brussels. It's also served to highlight the political differences within the bloc. Indeed, press reports from the Brussels summit did not mention the reactions of right-wing leaders like Maloney, Orban in Hungary. The impressions that the EU was smarting was notably one-sided.
I think that's a very good observation, because I'm pretty sure most publications at the moment will be talking about Europe's response, the EU's response, as if they're all in together. But one thing that I've noted over the last couple of years is that there are parts of Europe that don't feel quite the same as the rest of the EU, and of course they're smarting, because if Trump's changes to the way his government are organized, if like sacking a load of people or giving people a different option to work differently, like shape up or ship out kind of thing. If what he is suggesting works really beautifully, then I imagine a lot of people in Brussels could also be let go of. I mean, I think one of the things, obviously I'm not studying him or anything like that, but I've been speaking, I've spoken to clients that have received the kind of notifications that you're talking about.
It's devastating on an individual and personal level, isn't it?
It is and it isn't. I've spoken directly to somebody who was absolutely devastated, and also spoken to somebody who's actually excited by the new situation.
Well, it's kind of like how you have to be these days. I mean, we wouldn't be in Portugal if I hadn't been made redundant.
Exactly.
I'm not trying to be a poster boy for redundancy, because it wasn't an easy thing.
It freed up an opportunity for us.
Okay. Well, and in the end, you have to. That's what you have to do. You have to manage your own sort of sovereignty and responsibility, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, like we worked for one of the largest disability charities in the UK, oldest. And one thing that I know, and I've also worked for a really, really large charity in London, and one thing that lots of people say about the charity sector is they've got lots of bloated staff. Not like they're physically bloated, but the organizations have a bloated, like a bloat of people that you can't get rid of. And they can be seen as places where money comes in and then goes missing. So I can understand why the EU might have a firm response, because
they're afraid.
Because I think they're afraid. I mean,
Aviva makes a really
crazy.
good comment here, and I think it's just such a sign of the times. Aviva, I don't think anything is how it appears.
Exactly.
That's right. Very much like the pandemic. And what media outlet reports objectively? I don't think that's a question mark there. I don't really know what is actually happening, and that's such an interesting viewpoint, because the only thing I guess we can really know what's actually happening in any profound way is what's happening to us in our lives, isn't it? And that's in a way maybe what we're being forced to do.
Absolutely. I mean, during like the COVID narrative times, and right now, I like my client base in the States tends to be split right down the middle. And
that's a thing, isn't it? This division.
And I know there are some people who prefer to work with people from one side or another. But what I notice is I have huge amounts of respect for the points of view of everyone that I work with, and they're all really nice people. I don't really work with people I don't come across anyone actually who is really nasty. I don't think I've ever said that to you. Oh my God. There's someone to put on my block list. People have fear.
Have you got one?
No. Right. But people have a level of fear that comes into their decision making, and that will be based on their childhood experiences and and also what they get told by the media and whether they believe it or not. And I love what Ocean Dwellers put there.
Yeah, definitely.
It's really smart.
Let's go back to Natasha. And this is where Portugal has always had its place. Serene, somewhere in the middle of everything, but not making any waves.
It's beautiful.
This is an evolutionary process, and my conviction is that the political dialogue must be the key if we are to have the economic conditions to have good growth rates, both in the United States and in Europe, the PM told upturned microphones. In Portugal, the message from Minister for the Economy, Pedro Reis, was very similar. There is a game between large economic blocks, and as such, Portugal doesn't want to anticipate the moves or the results. And it's not really that, I mean, it's somewhat influential, but not massively influential. So it can take this position, of course. Lisbon stocks started the week trading lower as investors were described as bracing for the US tariffs outcome. But by Tuesday, they were already recovering, perhaps a sign that people are reading into Trump's narrative and understanding much more that it is a form of challenge, not something set in stone. It is this is what we want. If you don't give us a lot of it, we will hit you with tariffs. And I think T-Duck has responded to that. When Trump wants 10, he asks for 1,000. Have you not read The Art of the Deal? I have to admit I haven't, but I definitely get the gist of that right there.
What I get from these moves is, not so much the art of like a deal or a negotiation, but I really see a dad or a granddad. Because like if things were going on at our home, when I was growing up, if there was a trouble and it felt like there were things on the outside of our home that might have been coming in to
threaten.
Yeah, threaten the equilibrium.
Yes.
Like what a father does often is they kind of
puff out their chest.
They puff out their chest. And
is that what you think he's doing?
They puff out their chest, but they do protect.
Yes.
They'll close the windows, lock the gates. They might
take that, neighbours.
They might sit by the door.
Get the newspaper out.
Well, I mean,
get me a cup of tea, love, because I'm protecting the boundary.
Yeah, I mean that is
the metaphor.
That or they check the boundaries. Like when you buy a new house, what's one of the first things you do when you've got the money to? A lot of people reinforce their fences. And I don't.
My word!
I'm not actually talking politically here. I'm just saying what like human nature often does. We don't build houses. We don't build our homes and leave the doors wide open. And what I see there is really a dad response, which is
dad response.
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
And that's not me saying I agree with what he's doing or not, but I see is a dad response kind of made big.
Well, there is the expansionist imperial concern. Now, for anyone in Portugal who has seen the news about Gaza and it being seized as a holiday park.
Yeah.
The thing about Portugal, of course, is we needn't worry about it being seized.
Are they going to send out some pastel de natas?
No, Portugal is already a holiday park, so we can't be seized and be used as well. We've already done that, Donald, in case you're watching this morning. So in Portugal, the message, I think we've done that bit, haven't we? Portugal doesn't want to anticipate the moves or the results. Lisbon stocks started the week. Oh, we've done that bit as well. It is this is what we want. If you don't give us a lot of it, we will hit you with tariffs. There you go. Yeah. So gesturing, posturing, negotiation. So this is the interesting bit then. So what does Mr. Trump want from the EU or the EU? First, to some people anyway, the terrible threat. Yes, it is real. Donald Trump was apparently aghast when visiting a European city recently to see no Chevys or Dodges. We haven't got the roads for them, Donald. I mean, lots of people would love to bring their big American cars, but we're not built.
Could you imagine one of those? Could you imagine one of those big?
Why are there no Chevys or Dodges?
Could you imagine
here?
one of those big cars going down like our back streets at the top of our town?
Well, and
they wouldn't even go down them.
Well, look, we've all got our own problems already. Okay, with those young kids on mopeds. We don't want a Chevy next to that.
No, definitely not.
Would have both ends of the sonic spectrum, wouldn't we? We have the moped and an American V8 going. They don't take our cars. They don't take our farm products. Well, fair. I don't want your chicken. Keep your chicken. And your farm products. They take almost nothing. Look, I was at McDonald's yesterday. I do take things.
No, you've taken that brand.
Okay. And we take everything from them. And so you should. European culture, history, why not? Millions of cars. See, I'm pushing back here.
Yeah, like one of the things that I notice is you know, like we only take stuff from each other or
Yeah.
buy stuff from each other is if we don't have it in house. Like, you know, if we were growing our own tomatoes, we wouldn't go and buy tomatoes from the supermarket. Though actually, I realise we have actually done that. We've grown our own.
It's a lot cheaper. When we were growing our own tomatoes, it cost us about 25 euros per tomato, didn't it?
In time and stuff.
Yes.
But, you know, what I appreciate about Portugal, and that was, I think, one of the things that didn't help us make our choice, but it kind of confirmed that maybe we'd picked the right place. And that is that, you know, the Portuguese know how to grow things. And they know how to look after their resources quite well. That's my observation of them.
Yeah, right. That's part of our serenity.
Yeah, and I think if you're quite well resourced, you know what to do, where to get things from in house.
This doesn't worry you so much, does it?
Again, it's like you in your shed as the dad.
Oh yeah,
you've got like when
I've got a bit of wood that will do that.
Yes, you've got everything. Like you'll find things. But like when we're in when we were in England, I remember there were times when farmers were up in arms, for instance, because their products weren't able to be sold because our government had made some trade deals that meant the supermarkets needed to take produce from other countries.
And that's why people are upset about this idea of tariffs. But
of course they are. And also that we couldn't fish in our own waters, but had to take fish from Spain. I don't know if that's, you know, I mean, that was
just been
historically
a bit of the old propaganda, might it?
Well, it might have been, but you know, it's those kind of scenarios that get on people's wick. Like if my dad, for instance, you know, needed to get something to maintain his house that he could have done himself,
he would have fished in his own waters.
And so I guess if Portugal is quite resource rich, which I believe it is, I think we're okay. And I would say, like, looking at this, I just think it's time for us to get all of our resources in order.
Wow, Mrs. M. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not even going to have time to ask if the astrological portents say so as well.
The astrology is like...
I am never going to finish this article,
I don't say this. It's like nothing you've ever seen, because that just sounds like it's come from the Donald Trump
book of polemic rhetoric. Yes.
But you know, across the board,
nothing,
you know, with astrology,
it's like nothing. Nothing you've ever seen. No, we do the best nothing you've ever seen.
With the next 2 years, we've got astrological things going on that we've never ever seen before in our recorded history.
Oh my goodness!
No, I'm not kidding. Like, this isn't like some kind of you know,
you're not trying to. It's just not clickbait, because if it was, I'd have said it a lot earlier on.
It really isn't.
In the show,
it really isn't. And what happened at the time of COVID hadn't happened astrologically for about 3,500 years. But we are going way beyond that. We are coming into a completely new time.
Well,
and the only response is to be, I think, is to not expect what we need and just to be prepared to act in the moment. We are going to be
yes, and on on a local level, right? Because that is going back to what Aviva said. This is the time, isn't it? If you don't know what's going on because you can't trust it, or actually because you can't actually know what's going on beyond your immediate senses, can you? You can only be told, and if that's been hijacked by which we can fairly say it has, right, by other people's agendas,
think so,
either benignly or very actively and malevolently. It does bring us closer to home, doesn't it, to check in our own experience and be in our own communities. Meanwhile, Dougie Lennon is here. All he is saying is give trust. Now, Dougie is feeling quite emboldened.
He is, isn't he?
He is, isn't he? The cut of his jib on social media at the moment is quite notable.
I don't believe that.
He's not afraid to eat a bit of chlorine washed chicken.
Yeah, I'd rather not.
Which if I was to go to a restaurant, Doug, this is the man who hates French food, preferring it would appear chlorine washed chicken. Good evening, waiter. What would you recommend? What would you recommend?
Give me some of that chlorine washed
may I
chicken.
recommend, sir, to use a chlorine washed chicken? It's very good. Okay, it has barely detectable levels of chlorine. If you've been in the swimming pool, you'll not even notice. Right, okay, my best Peter Sellers there.
That was good.
Okay, can I go back to the
Yes,
article?
absolutely. I won't stop you.
Right, okay, so terrible threat. Yes, it's real. There aren't any Chevys or Dodges pulling up at the traffic lights. They don't take our cars. They don't. Nothing. Millions of cars. Tremendous amounts of food and farm products. We have the best. And then the ultimate insult that Europe is an atrocity that has treated America terribly. I have not done that. Donald Trump has not come up, not at the point of writing this text anyway. And that's a very clever piece of journalism, because by the time you've written an article, Donald Trump might have done several things. Just, I mean, like, you know, from once upon a time to by the time you get to they lived happily ever after, Donald might have issued several more executive orders and changed his mind 27 times.
Absolutely,
very good.
yeah.
Nice one. With a timeline for imposing tariffs on the EU, but it's going to be pretty soon, he told a journalist this week, which suggests that once he has finished getting his way with Canada, Mexico, South Africa, yes, he's not happy. That's Elon's influence, though, isn't it? That the country's gratuitous
I have
land
no idea if it is Elon's. I think
he's got South African roots.
No, I don't know if that is because of Elon.
Okay, and possibly China.
That's, you know, what the media's
China
spinning.
will be setting his sights on the block.
Right.
Come, we're ready for you, darling. What will Mr. Trump want from Europe in order not to slap tariffs on its products? Almost certainly, he will want to import more LPG, liquid petroleum gas. He may want to import chlorinated chicken nugget, sacre bleu, and to reduce cooperation with China, possibly even to import American cars. The European car industry is over, and we spoke to Colin about that. The reality, and I'm not sure about the prognosis for American cars, quite honestly, the reality that no one is venturing what Mr. Trump wants, because the terrible truth is that he appears too capricious and unpredictable. That does go against him,
unpredictable to even try to predict.
Yeah, but he is first and foremost a businessman, and in that he is exceptionally predictable. So it should not take too much intelligence to work out what kind of cooperation will be suggested. Is it the kind of question very possibly answerable by ChatGPT?
I wonder what ChatGPT says about it.
I wonder. We could do that live. Maybe European leaders are already at their keyboards. Well done, Natasha. Once they feel they have the answers, it would simply be a question of negotiating and sealing a deal. Portugal, per se, will have very little to do with this process, as the country is not considered any kind of big cheese. We've got big cheese, but we're not a big cheese within the EU bloc. But its natural serenity may keep this country at least from the panicky headlines of so many others. Yes. Aren't we lucky to live here?
Yeah. I guess if you don't know what's going to happen, you could choose to preemptively get upset, or
there's a lot of that about, isn't
or
there?
just remain calm until you know whether you need to get upset or
Calma, tranquilo, as our Portuguese host would say. Tariffs of the past. Well, during the greatest hits now, during his first term, Mr. Trump imposed tariffs on steel and aluminum. I've translated that, especially for our American audience, from the EU, which retaliated with trade levies on a number of items, including Harley-Davidson motorbikes, bourbon, denim, and orange juice. You see, there's the American way right there in one sentence.
Exactly. That's not going to affect us.
You don't think so?
Nope.
But what if I have a midlife crisis and I want all of those every day?
Well, orange juice is no problem.
Spoiling my midlife crisis. What about my Harley Davidson?
Well,
you're visualizing me drinking orange juice and bourbon, clad in denim on a Harley Davidson, and you're thinking, I quite like the smell of that.
I'm relieved. That would be a relief to me. I don't want you gadding around on motorbikes drunk on orange juice.
Drunk on orange juice, high on life,
high on the like syrupy, sugary.
It's the bourbon you need to worry about. None of these would affect Portuguese consumers drastically. No. Well, if we all have a midlife crisis at the same time, I think Natasha's being a bit cavalier about that. But the US market represents almost 7%. This is interesting. Almost 7% of Portuguese exports, mainly comprising food and drink. John Arago is going to help with this. So it is extremely important, and Portugal will just be quietly hoping that the EU holds its nerve when Mr. Trump focuses on what he wants from Europe, and that the whole tariff question takes on far less frightening proportions.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. And thank you, Natasha Don. That's in the Portugal Resident. Let's see what comments
That's a very sort of thoughtfully written piece, I think.
Yeah, I think it is. I do like the cut of her jib. Almost all of the vegetables in Dubai, I think that is, unless Dubia is another place, are washed in chlorinated water. Of course, I'm emboldened on social media. I'm now less likely to face a ban.
Well, I think
he's going to face personal bans, not corporate ones. It just changes, Doug. You won't see Chevys here because they're crap. Right. Nobody knows what's going on under the fog of war. It's true. It's absolutely true, isn't it?
Like, none of us know.
All right. You see, that's why he doesn't like French food. He's much preferred a burger. All this stuff about evil American food is nonsense. Left-wing disgruntlement, pure and simple. Go on.
I mean, I've never been to America, so I can't talk about the food.
I have. I loved it.
However, they have much more relaxed laws about additives and things like that.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
There's a lot of things they put in American
a lot of
food
American
that's
friends
banned
here
over
much prefer the food quality here in Portugal, right?
Yeah.
But albeit the lack of good Mexican food. Took the failed
Yeah.
businessman 24 hours to reverse tariffs and trust less time than less. Morning, Pete. How are you this morning? I always say, thank goodness my Tesla is made by efficient and well-organized Chinese rather than those sloppy, lazy.
Let me just say that's not a view that you believe about across the board about Americans, is it? Given
because that would sound a little bit racist.
We have lots of American friends who I don't consider to be like that.
One thing everyone can agree on is that Trump is about disrupting the status quo, says Wellness, whereas most governments seem to be more about yes.
Yeah,
and why would they want to do that? It's a good point,
yeah,
isn't it?
Really,
Who benefits?
Really good point.
Who benefits? And
Yes.
that's what we'll see over time, isn't it? Who will benefit? And you can only see over time who's going to benefit. I mean, I think we can safely say from our experience of recent years, when politicians are preserving the status quo, they're not doing it for our benefit.
Yeah, I would nod along with that.
Yep. Okay. I thought you might. Portugal already imposes huge tariffs on anything imported. What? Another taxation opportunity in Portugal, hence why some things cost so much.
Yeah.
We all know if we buy glasses, yes, electronics or anything. It's true, isn't it? Very expensive for that sort of thing. So we're already used to it.
We're already used to getting things from Amazon, aren't we?
Portuguese food is not mass produced because Portugal does not have 300 million mouths to feed, says Dougie. Yeah, we got that. Not months to feed, but mouths to feed. We got that. Nakaro Dios. Simply says Mr. S. Well, Mrs. M, we're a minute past. Morning, Jackie. Lovely to see you here this morning. And Mel, yes, and many other things. Portugal imposes huge impossible seal on many products. It does. It does. So we are quite used to it. We've been conditioned. I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's healthy to be cynical with politicians. There are good ones. I'm sorry, James. You're right. It's the people on the far right who benefit from you not being hopeful. Oh, just as we're trying to leave. He chucks that in. Right. That's why we shop at Costco in Spain. That's a globalist move right there.
Yeah. So, I mean, what I'm hearing here is that people who are already living in Portugal already know where to get their best prices from and
it's
already
human
know
ingenuity.
and know that there's always going to be something that works, something that doesn't.
It's the dad effect you mentioned, isn't it?
Dad
effect is a very interesting
But I also
thing.
recognize I think what's going on is we've got like family, like really like distilled versions of family dynamics blown up because there's also teenage energy.
Yeah.
You know, so you could say that the EU, the United Press, like, because the press does seem to go in step with each other right across the board.
Yeah.
All different world governments and stuff are being like the dad.
Yeah.
And Trump is like being the teenager and saying, well, why? Why? And he's kind of disrupting the power of the establishment. So, you know, there's so many different things that take me back to childhood.
Really? Is it giving a youthful flush?
Well,
would you say?
You know, like, for instance, like when I was 18 and I buggered off, you know, I was meant to go to university and then at the last minute said, no, I'm going to take this little backpack and bugger off to France. I don't know where I'm going, what I'm going to do, but it's all going to be okay. Obviously,
are you likening that to a Trump political move?
No, what I'm saying is sometimes we do need to break free to be able to see
I can hear
what
music
we're about.
all the time you're talking.
Like sometimes we need to break free of the grasp of what our reality is to be able to see what exists the other side. If I'd gone straight to university and done exactly what my parents wanted me to do, I would never have, you know, I wouldn't have lived the kind of life that I've lived, and I have no regrets at all. You know, what Trump is offering everybody is a completely new perspective, and that perspective might turn out to be really good.
Here's the other thing.
And it might turn out to be really
here's the thing as well.
Difficult, but we've not challenged ourselves like this.
No,
you know,
but can I put this into the conversation before we go? And thanks everybody for getting involved and having a bit of a giggle. I know there are some serious concerns. Simple-minded in English. Oh, now I'm triggered. I think no. What was that comment I just put on? Yes, no, not that one. There was another one from James. Good to have you here this morning.
I don't know.
Oh, the Chevy, a fridge with wheels on it. Not a big fan of the Chevy, so you can keep those. I'm sure. No, but what I wanted to say is, you could see him as causal, And these are the sorts of things which, if I may crowbar in a plug for our midday show,
Yeah.
we have a moment with the Munsons where we do come into the moment here in our local reality, our lives such as they are, over which we have the most influence, right? We can influence our state. There's not a lot we can do about all this incoming data that gets messed about with by other people's opinions and so on. And there's, you know, that can be quite upsetting and difficult, as we've discovered in these last few decades or centuries, maybe. But he might be a symptom of what's going on. You know, you're looking at the grander astrological moves, aren't you, and influences. And Trump might not be causal as much as, you know, if he implements a policy, yes, that's causal. That will have an effect on the collective, won't it? On society in the political realm. But if you also see him from the point of view of how he might be a boil on the skin of society and humanity, as well as like an outburst of something that is bubbled up because of other influences that are afoot, or in the grand arc of society trying to find homeostasis and balance, because we haven't experienced much balance, have we, in recent times? Or the serenity that Portugal that we're talking about, you know, from before. So he might be as much, what I'm saying is, he might be as much symptomatic as he is causal, and that might bring relief to see that all this craziness that seems to be bubbling up and bursting around the world is a symptom of something underlying that we might pay more attention to.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah. Oh, was that it?
Well, I don't know if you want me to, like,
last word to you. Last word to you as my esteemed guest and co-host on The Moment with the Munsons at midday Portuguese time on New Reality TV. Everybody, go on, Mrs. M.
Well, today we've got a really interesting woman from America joining us, called Amy Doherty.
Yes,
who has a site called Irigenics or something like that.
Yes,
well, I better get it right before 12. She studies iridology. And is able to talk about your ancestral code.
And she could literally say, "Look into my eyes," couldn't she?
Yeah, she can.
She can. But
yeah, so we're going to be talking to her about that, and
we're having a moment to breathe out. Yes. So if you ever feel stressed and you need a little bit of a nice space, a safe space to be free and easy and breathe, join us The Moment with the Munsons.
And we've got some great people coming.
We have amazing
We've got
people.
Sadhu Dar, who's looking at
another song. Sadhu Di, Sadhu Da, Sadhu Di.
He's currently living in Thailand. He's moving around. He's watching lots of different tribes and sort of reflecting on tribal conditions.
He's an extraordinary fellow, isn't he?
He is, yeah. He's
Are we talking to him on Monday?
Yes, we are.
Okay, it'd be nice to see a few of you over there on New Reality TV. In the meantime, if it's all getting too much and you want some of that Portuguese, not just the serenity, but the joviality, clown alert. 2nd, 3rd, and 4th of March.
Where is that?
That's Lulay. That's Lulay, where they'll be weaving in some really sharp political insight and fun and mischief alongside the revelry there. Carnival não seca, is that? I don't know what that. Oh, okay, it's a carnival, not a drought. Because they'll be making political points about that. And one more time, I do love, I don't get tired of this. Marcelo shaking the hand of Donald
That was
Trump.
incredible.
If you come back, Donald,
that was
Battle of the Dads, wasn't it?
That was, yes, it was.
Battle
It was like
of the
Battle
Dads.
of the Granddads, actually.
Yes, come on, Grandad.
It was a granddad handshake, wasn't it?
It really was.
It was hilarious.
Really was. He pulled him close, didn't he?
That is what they do.
Listen out for the sharp intake of breath, and he's not gonna like that in the background. Mrs. M, thank you very much. Martin Harris, thank you very much. See you tonight, everybody, with Philomena. We'll be talking about greetings and going a little bit further into Portuguese language and culture with the Philomena this evening. So see you then, perhaps, and the Town Hall Dream Team session at 9.
It's Philomena
Thursday. Absolutely. Okay. Donnie and Marcelo battling out here, the Alpha Granddads. Go for it. Have a great day, everybody.
Mr. President, any